Little girl sold her puppy, a desperate act for her sick mother, but the puppy was a gift from a dangerous man with a powerful family. When he discovers what happened, his wrath is not aimed at her, but at those who took advantage. The consequences will thunder through the streets. If you're new here, subscribe and comment your location. Now let's begin. The puppy was a ball of golden fur and big, clumsy paws. His name was Buster. Lily, who was 9, held him against her chest, her tears soaking into his soft coat. She stood outside the pawn shop called Gold Rush. It had a dirty window and a sign with blinking lights. She didn't want to go in, but she had to. Inside, her mom, Elena, was sick, really sick. She had a bad cough that wouldn't go away and a fever. The doctor said she needed special medicine. The medicine cost a lot of money, more money than Elena had. She had cried that morning, saying she was sorry, so sorry to Lily. Lily had an idea. Uncle Mike had given her Buster for her birthday. Uncle Mike was big and scary, with tattoos and a loud motorcycle. He was her mom's brother, but they had a big fight a long time ago. Mom didn't like him coming around, but he had shown up with Buster in a little box. "Every kid needs a friend," he'd growled. Lily loved Buster more than anything, but she loved her mom more. She pushed open the pawn shop door. A bell jingled. The air smelled like old cigars and dust. A man with a greasy mustache looked up from behind a glass counter. His name was Leo. He worked for the Skeleton Crew, a gang that ran small-time scams. The pawn shop was one of their fronts. "Well, hello there," Leo said, his voice slick. "What can I do for you, little lady?" Lily walked up to the counter. She had to stand on her tiptoes to see over it. She placed Buster on the glass. Buster whined and licked her hand. "I need to sell my puppy," Lily said, trying to sound brave. Her voice shook. Leo's eyes widened. He wasn't a dog expert, but he knew money. This was a purebred golden retriever puppy, worth thousands. He saw the desperation in the little girl's eyes. He saw her old, patched coat. This was easy money. "He's a cute mutt," Leo lied, picking Buster up. The puppy squirmed. "I can give you $50. Lily's heart sank. She knew Buster was worth more. She'd heard Uncle Mike say so. I need more. My mom is sick. The medicine is $300. Leo pretended to think. $300? That's a lot for a mutt. Tell you what, because I'm a nice guy, $100, final offer. Lily wanted to argue, but she was scared. The man was scary. She needed the money now. She nodded, fresh tears in her eyes. "Good girl," Leo said. He put Buster in a cardboard box behind the counter and counted out 5 $20 bills. He shoved them across the glass. "Now run along." Lily took the money, her hand shaking. She gave one last look at the box where Buster was whining. Then she turned and ran out, the bell jangling behind her. At the same time, across town, Mike Hammer O'Sullivan was polishing his Harley. He was the sergeant at arms for the local Hells Angels chapter. He was a big man, covered in tattoos with a beard. He was thinking about his sister, Elena. They had a huge fight years ago when he joined the club. She called him a criminal. He called her judgmental. They hadn't spoken in years, but he loved her, and he loved his niece, Lily. He'd given Lily the puppy as a peace offering, a way to maybe start talking again. He hadn't heard anything. He decided to swallow his pride. He'd go check on them. He bought a bag of groceries and some flowers. He rode his bike to Elena's apartment. He knocked on the door. Elena opened it. She looked pale and thin, and she was shivering. "Mike," she said, surprised. Then she coughed, a deep, wet cough. "Elena, you look terrible," Mike said, his voice gruff with concern. "We are fine," Elena said, but another cough racked her body. "Where's Lily?" Mike asked, stepping inside. The apartment was clean but very poor. "She's running an errand," Elena said, leaning against the wall, weak. Mike put the groceries on the table. He saw the empty medicine bottle. The prescription label had a price on it, $300. He frowned. "You need this." "I'll get it," Elena whispered. Just then, the door burst open. Lily ran in, her face red from crying. She saw her uncle and froze. The money was clutched in her fist. "Lily, what's wrong?" Elena asked. Lily looked from her sick mom to her huge, scary uncle. The truth spilled out in a sob. "I sold Buster. I sold him to the pawn shop for the medicine money. She held out the crumpled bills. I got $100. The room went silent. Elena's hand flew to her mouth. Oh, Lily, no. Mike's face didn't change at first, then it did. It went very, very still. His eyes, usually sharp, turned cold and dark. He wasn't angry at Lily. He saw the heartbreak on her face. He was angry at the pawn shop man. He was angry at the sickness. He was angry at himself for not being there sooner. He knelt down in front of Lily, his leather cut creaking. He was so big he was still almost as tall as her. Gently, he took the money from her hand. He folded it and put it in her pocket. You did a brave thing, kiddo, he said, his voice surprisingly soft. A really brave thing for your mom, but we don't sell family, ever. He stood up, he looked at Elena. You bed now. It wasn't a suggestion. He helped her to her bedroom. Then he came back to the living room. He took out his phone. He made one call. Ricky, it's Hammer. Round up the boys, all of them. We have a situation, a reclamation. An hour later, Leo was in the back of the pawn shop, counting his profit for the day. He had already listed the puppy online for $2,000. He was grinning, easy money. Then he heard it, a low rumble. It grew louder and louder. It wasn't one motorcycle. It was the sound of many, dozens, maybe 100. The rumble became a roar that shook the windows of the shop. Leo ran to the front. His blood turned to ice. The street was filled with motorcycles, row after row of them, Hell's Angels. Their patches glinted in the afternoon sun. They parked in perfect lines, blocking the entire street. Men in cuts got off their bikes. They were big, tough, and silent. They all looked at the pawn shop. The front door opened. Mike walked in. He wasn't wearing his cut. He was just in a t-shirt and jeans, but he looked more dangerous than ever. 5 other angels walked in behind him, their faces like stone. One of them was the chapter president, a man named Marcus. Leo tried to smile. It looked like a grimace. Gentlemen, welcome. What can I do for the Hell's Angels today? Mike walked right up to the counter. He didn't say a word. He looked at the cardboard box behind Leo. He could hear a puppy whining. My niece sold you a golden retriever puppy today, Mike said, his voice quiet, for $100. Leo's smile vanished. Oh no, there must be a mistake. I bought a mutt from a kid, fair and square. Mike reached over the counter. He didn't ask. He just picked up the cardboard box. He opened the flaps. Buster's little head popped up. The puppy saw Mike and yipped happily. This mutt, Mike said, holding the puppy gently, is a purebred, worth at least $2,000. You lied to a scared little girl. You took advantage of her while her mother is dying. Leo started to sweat. Now listen, we can work this out. The chapter president, Marcus, spoke for the first time. We're not here to work anything out. We are here for 2 things, the puppy and the $300 for the medicine you cost that family. I don't have it, Leo lied. Mike looked past him to the big safe in the back room. Open it. Leo shook his head. I can't, the owners. One of the other angels, a giant named Paul, stepped forward. He had a crowbar. He didn't say a word. He walked toward the safe. Wait, okay. Leo scrambled to the safe. His hands shook as he dialed the combination. He opened it. Inside was cash from the day's business and some jewelry. Mike nodded to Paul. Paul took a duffel bag from his back. He emptied the entire safe into the bag. He took every dollar, every coin, every piece of gold. That's too much, that's thousands, Leo cried. Interest, Mike said simply. He cuddled Buster in his arms. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell your skeleton crew bosses that the Hell's Angels paid you a visit. You're going to tell them why. You're going to tell them that if they ever go near that little girl or her mother again, we won't just take your money. We'll take your whole operation apart, brick by brick. Are we clear? Leo could only nod, his face white. Good, Mike turned to leave. His brothers followed him. They walked out of the shop. Mike got on his bike, holding Buster securely in one arm. The other angels got on their bikes. The roar of 150 Harley-Davidson engines starting at once was like thunder. It was a sound of pure power. They weren't there for a fight. They were there to send a message, and the message had been received. They rode down the street in a slow, powerful parade. People came out of their shops to watch, their phones recording. It wasn't a show of violence. It was a show of force for a very specific reason: family. Mike rode straight to Alina's apartment. He walked upstairs, Buster in his arms. He knocked. Lily opened the door. Her eyes were red from crying. Then she saw Buster. "Buster!" she screamed with joy. The puppy leaped from Mike's arms into hers, licking her face. Mike walked in. He put the duffel bag of money on the table. The medicine money, and then some. Alina came out of the bedroom, wrapped in a blanket. She saw the bag. She saw her daughter laughing with the puppy. She looked at her brother, this scary biker. "Why, Mike?" she asked, her voice soft. "All of that for a dog?" Mike looked at his niece. "Not for the dog, Alina, for her. No one takes from our family. No one makes her cry like that, ever again." For the first time in years, Alina didn't see just a criminal. She saw her brother, her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you." Mike shrugged, awkward with emotion. I'll go get that medicine now." "Uncle Mike," Lily said, still hugging Buster. "Yeah, kiddo. Can you stay for dinner?" Mike looked at Alina. She gave a small, tired smile and nodded. "Sure," Mike said, a rough smile touching his own face. "I'd like that." The empire of the Hells Angels hadn't changed. They still ruled their turf. But that day, they used their power not for profit, but for a little girl. And the story spread all over town, not as a tale of terror, but as a legend. A legend that if you hurt the innocent, especially the family of an angel, you would answer to 150 roaring motorcycles. And all you could do was stand and watch as they took back what was theirs. The story of the 150 bikes did more than get Buster back. It changed things. It was in the neighborhood news the next day, but not on the crime page. It was a weird, feel-good story. "Biker Brigade saves pup, helps sick mom," the headline read. People talked about it in diners. They showed the cell phone videos of the bikes lining the street. They didn't look like scary outlaws. They looked like an army for a little girl. For the skeleton crew, it was a disaster. Leo told his boss, a mean man named Vince, what happened. Vince was furious, not at the angels. He wasn't stupid. He was furious at Leo. "You idiot," Vince yelled, throwing a glass against the wall of their dirty bar headquarters. "You brought the angels down on us for a dog, for a few $100. Now we look weak, pathetic." "But boss, they took all the cash from the safe," Leo whined. "I don't care about the cash. I care about our reputation," Vince shouted. "You think anyone is going to do business with us now? They'll think we can't even protect a pawn shop from a puppy rescue mission. We're a joke." And they were. Small-time crooks stopped using their fences. Their protection racket fell apart because shop owners realized the big, scary angels weren't interested in their little shops. The skeleton crew shriveled up almost overnight. The angels hadn't thrown a single punch, but they had won the war without even trying. Back at Alina's apartment, life began to get better. Mike used the money from the safe, which was over $5,000, to pay for Alina's full treatment. He made sure she saw a good doctor. He also fixed things around the apartment that were broken. He was surprisingly good at fixing sinks and door hinges. Lily followed him everywhere while he worked, Buster at her heels. "Uncle Mike, how did you know how to do that?" she'd ask. "Picked it up," he'd grunt, but he'd show her how to hold the wrench. Alina watched them. The charged chemistry wasn't romantic. It was the thick, healing air between siblings who had been apart for too long. Every smile Mike gave Lily, every time Alina didn't flinch when he walked in the door, was a step forward. It was safe, but full of deep feeling. Mike started coming over every Sunday for dinner. It became a rule. He'd bring groceries, enough for the whole week. One Sunday, he brought another angel with him, the president, Marcus. Marcus was older, with a calm face and sharp eyes. "Alina, Lily, this is Marcus," Mike said, sounding uncharacteristically nervous. Alina was wary but polite. "Hello." Marcus took off his hat. "Ma'am, I just wanted to see the girl who can get 150 grown men to drop everything for a puppy." He smiled at Lily, and it was a kind smile. "You've got a strong heart, kid." Marcus stayed for coffee. He talked to Alina not as a biker, but as a man. He told her Mike was one of the most loyal men he knew, that he talked about his sister and niece all the time, that the club was a family too, for better or worse. After Marcus left, Alina looked at Mike. He's not what I expected. Nobody is, Mike said. The biggest change happened a few weeks later. Alina was finally feeling strong. Her cough was gone. She got a call from her old job at the diner saying they didn't need her anymore. She hung up the phone and cried. Mike saw her. What's wrong? Nothing, it's fine, Alina said, wiping her eyes. Tell me. I lost my job. I have no money again after the medicine runs out. Mike was quiet for a long time. Then he said, come to the clubhouse tomorrow. Alina was terrified. Why? Just come, bring Lily for lunch. The next day, Alina and Lily walked into the Hells Angels clubhouse. It was a big garage with a bar and pool tables. It was clean, surprisingly. There were a few big, bearded men there, including Paul, who had emptied the safe. They all nodded respectfully. Alina, Mike said, leading her to a back office. It was an auto repair shop office with parts catalogs and invoices. A woman named Stella was sitting there, typing on a computer. Stella was in her 40s, with smart eyes and a no-nonsense look. She was also married to Marcus. Stella runs the books for our legit businesses, Mike said. The garage, the t-shirt shop, she needs help. The job pays better than the diner, health insurance too. Alina stared. You're offering me a job. Stella smiled. Mike says you're good with numbers and you're honest. We need honest. The work is boring. Invoices, payroll, taxes, but it's steady. And you can bring Lily after school if you need to. She can play with Buster in the yard. Alina was speechless. This was a lifeline, a real one, not charity from her brother, but a real job from a real business. She looked at Mike. He looked away, scratching his beard like he was embarrassed. Thank you, Alina said to Stella. I'd like that very much. So Alina started working for the Angels' legitimate side. She learned that the club had a whole world of normal business. They fixed cars, sold merchandise, owned a few rental properties. The illegal stuff was separate, and she never saw it. She was good at her job. Stella liked her. Mike and Alina started to really talk again. One night after dinner, Lily was asleep. They sat on the porch. I'm sorry, Alina said suddenly. For all those years I judged you. I was scared. Mom and Dad were so angry when you joined. I gave you reason to be scared, Mike said, staring at his hands. I made choices. I'm not a good man, Alina, but I'm trying to be a good brother, a good uncle. You are, she said, putting her hand over his. It was a simple touch, but it meant everything. The past was still there, but it was finally healing. A month later, trouble found them again, but in a different way. A man from the hospital billing department came to the apartment. He was rude, demanding the rest of the payment for Alina's treatment, saying there were fees. He threatened to send debt collectors. Alina was panicked. Mike was there, fixing the kitchen light. He heard the whole conversation. After the man left, Mike made a phone call. The next day, the same hospital administrator got a visit at his office. Not from bikers, from a very good, very expensive lawyer named Mr. Harrington, sent by the Hells Angels business account. Mr. Harrington had the original bill, the payment receipts, and a calm, cold warning about harassment and legal action. The hospital calls stopped immediately. Mike explained it to Alina later. We have lawyers for the businesses. They handle things. You don't have to be scared of bullies, not anymore. Alina realized her brother's world, which had once only brought danger, now also brought a strange, powerful kind of safety. She had a family again. A big, loud, complicated family that rode motorcycles. The story in the neighborhood became legend. The pawn shop went out of business. Leah was last seen working at a car wash. The skeleton crew was gone, and every kid on the block knew that the little girl in apartment 3B with the golden retriever had an uncle who could summon an army of angels if she needed them. One Saturday, Mike took Lily and Buster to the club's annual charity toy run. Hundreds of bikers, their bikes decorated with teddy bears, rode across town to deliver gifts to the children's hospital. Lily rode on the back of Mike's bike in a little helmet, holding onto him tightly. She waved at the crowds who cheered. She wasn't scared, she was proud. Her uncle wasn't a Hell's Angel to her, he was just Uncle Mike. And his friends, with their rumbling bikes and leather jackets, were the men who got her puppy back. That night, Mike tucked her into bed. Buster slept on the rug. "Uncle Mike," Lily whispered. "Yeah, kiddo. Are you still a bad guy?" Mike thought about it. He thought about the things he'd done. Then he thought about emptying a safe for medicine, fixing a sink, and the look on his sister's face when she got her first paycheck from a job she loved. "For you," he said quietly, "I'm trying really hard to be a good guy." And for Lily, that was enough. The empire of the Hells Angels stayed right where it was, powerful and unchallenged. But its Sergeant at Arms had finally found his way home, and in doing so, had given his family a fortress made not of fear, but of loyalty and the unbreakable rumble of 150 engines that would always come when called. The quiet after the toy run was a new kind of normal. Mike found himself at Elena's apartment more often than his own bunk at the clubhouse. He'd come over after his club duties, still smelling of engine grease and leather, and help Lily with her homework at the kitchen table. One evening, math was the enemy. "I don't get it," Lily groaned, pushing her workbook away. Mike, who could calculate engine compression ratios in his head, peered at the fractions. "Okay, kiddo, think of it like a pizza." He grabbed a napkin and drew a circle. "If you have one whole pizza and you cut it into 8 slices, for a man whose hands were better with wrenches than pencils, he was surprisingly patient." Elena watched from the sink, washing dishes, a soft smile on her face. This was the comedy, a feared Hell's Angel, a man who could silence a room with a look, carefully drawing pizza slices for a 3rd grader. Later, when Lily was in bed, Elena made coffee. She and Mike sat at the table. The charged moment wasn't about romance, but about the deep, vulnerable bridge being rebuilt between them. "Marcus offered me a full-time position," Elena said, "with benefits, a retirement plan." Mike nodded, looking into his mug. "You should take it. Stella says you're the best thing that's happened to the books in years." It's the club, Mike." Her voice was low. "I work for the Hells Angels." "You work for O'Sullivan and Sons Automotive and Angelware Merchandising," he corrected gently. "Legit businesses. You see the tax forms. You know where every penny comes from. The other stuff, that's a different world. It doesn't touch your desk." He looked at her. "I keep it separate, I swear to you." She believed him. She saw the effort he made, the way he changed out of his cut before coming over, the way he never discussed club business in front of Lily. It was his way of protecting the sanctuary he'd found. "I'll take the job," she said. "Thank you." Mike reached across the table and squeezed her hand. It was a brotherly gesture, but it carried the weight of a decade of silence now broken. "Thank you for letting me back in." Weeks turned into months. Elena thrived in her job. She discovered a talent for organization that the club's legitimate enterprises desperately needed. She even suggested new inventory systems for the garage that saved money. Stella became a true friend. Mike's standing in the club changed too. The puppy run, as it was now called, had been a public relations miracle. Cops who usually watched them with suspicion nodded with a grudging respect when they saw Mike at community events. The club's charity work saw more donations. They were still the Hells Angels, feared and powerful, but in their territory, they were also seen as a twisted kind of protective force. This new reputation, however, attracted a new kind of problem. One afternoon, a sleek black car pulled up outside the auto garage. 2 men in expensive suits got out. They weren't cops. They walked into the office where Elena and Stella were working. "We're looking for Michael O'Sullivan," the taller one said, his voice smooth. Stella stood up, instantly guarded. "He's in the bay, who's asking?" "We represent Mr. Salvatore Mancini." The name hung in the air like a threat. Mancini was a major player in organized crime, several levels above the wiped-out skeleton crew. He was old-school mafia. Mike walked in, wiping his hands on a rag. He saw the suits and his easy posture stiffened. "Can I help you?" "Mr. Mancini has heard about your efficient handling of a local dispute. He has a business proposition, a joint venture. He appreciates decisiveness." Mike didn't blink. "The club isn't looking for new partners. Thanks for stopping by." The man smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "It's not an offer you refuse, Mr. O'Sullivan. It's an opportunity. Think of what you could do for your family with real resources." His gaze flickered to Elena, who was sitting perfectly still, her blood running cold. Mike's voice dropped to a dangerous low. "You mention my family again, and this conversation ends with you leaving in an ambulance. Tell Mancini the Angels run our own show. We don't need a partner. We don't want one. Now get off our property." The men left, but the threat lingered like a bad smell. The comedy of pizza math was gone, replaced by the old, familiar suspense. Marcus called a church meeting that night. "Mancini is testing us," he told the gathered members. "He sees our strong local standing and wants to use it as a front or take a piece. If we say no, he might try to force us. If we say yes, we become his employees." "We are nobody's employees," Mike growled. The room rumbled in agreement. "So we prepare," Marcus said. "We tighten up. Our legitimate side is stronger than ever thanks to Elena." He nodded to Mike. "We make sure it's airtight. That's our foundation. Mancini operates in the shadows. We'll stand in the light of our community. It's harder to knock over a wall everyone can see." The plan was set. They would not give an inch of their empire, but they would fortify it differently. Mike's role became even more crucial. He was the bridge between the club's two faces. This put a strain on his new life. He had to be more careful. He started varying his route to Elena's apartment. He installed a new, heavy-duty lock on her door himself, telling Lily it was a super-secret agent lock. One evening, he was late for Sunday dinner. When he arrived, his knuckles were scraped raw. He tried to hide his hand, but Elena saw. "Mike," she said, her voice tight with fear. "It's handled," he said, his tone leaving no room for questions. "Some of Mancini's guys were getting pushy down at the docks, trying to move product through our patch. We reminded them of the borders." Lily, sensing the tension, brought him a Band-Aid with cartoon dogs on it. "For your boo-boo, Uncle Mike." The contrast was both comedic and heartbreaking. Mike, a man who had just been in a brutal fistfight, gently let his niece stick a children's bandage on his scarred hand. "Thanks, kiddo, that fixes everything." Later, Elena confronted him in the kitchen. "When does it stop, Mike? When are we safe?" He turned to her, his face tired. "I don't know if safe exists, Elena, not in my world, but protected does, and you are, I promise you that. Mancini is old and cautious. He doesn't want a war with a united club that the neighborhood sees as heroes. It's bad for his business. He'll back off." "And if he does?" Mike's eyes were hard. "Then he'll learn the same lesson the pawn shop did. We protect our own, and we're not just 150 guys on bikes anymore. We're the guys who fix your car, who sell your kid a t-shirt, who do the toy run. That's a different kind of power. He can't fight that." His words proved true. Mancini's probes continued for a few weeks, an attempted break-in at the merchandise warehouse that was foiled by a new security system Elena had budgeted for, some threatening calls to the garage that were recorded and handed to a friendly detective. The Angels didn't rise to the bait. They just got stronger, more visible, more embedded. The final moment came at a city council meeting about neighborhood watch programs. Marcus, in a rare move, attended in a suit with Mike beside him. They didn't speak, they just sat in the back. Their presence alone was a statement. The councilman, speaking about cleaning up criminal elements, stumbled over his words when he saw them. After the meeting, the head of the neighborhood watch, Mrs. Gable, an older woman who had once crossed the street to avoid Mike, approached them. "Mr. Marcus," she said politely, "we've had some trouble with graffiti lately, near the school. Any chance your members might keep an eye out when they're on their rides?" Marcus smiled. "We'd be happy to, ma'am. The community's safety is important to us." It was a masterstroke. They were being officially asked to help. Mike stood silently, the embodiment of the club's new role. The threat from Mancini faded. Fighting a rival gang was one thing. Fighting a group that was being invited to neighborhood watch meetings was a political nightmare the old Don didn't need. A month later, Mike celebrated Lily's 10th birthday at the clubhouse. It was a chaotic, joyful party. Bikers played pin the tail on the donkey. Paul, the giant, did magic tricks that made coins disappear and reappear behind Lily's ear, making her shriek with laughter. The comedy was back, sweeter for the struggle that had preceded it. As the sun set, Lily sat on the front steps, tired and happy, Buster in her lap. Mike sat next to her. "Best birthday ever," she sighed, leaning against him. Mike put a heavy arm around her small shoulders. He looked out at the patch-wearing men laughing and talking in the yard, at his sister smiling with Stella, at the solid, ordinary building of their legitimate business. The empire hadn't just survived, it had evolved. It hadn't been given up, it had been rooted deeper into the ground, intertwined with something good. The roar of the engines was now the sound of a heartbeat for a whole neighborhood, and at the center of it all was the reason it had started: a little girl, a puppy, and the uncle who discovered that the most powerful thing he could ever reclaim wasn't territory, but family. Thank you for watching. Would you have been brave enough to sell your most prized possession to save someone you love? Subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your city might be where our next story of unexpected heroes begins.